everyone. How are you guys doing today? All is well here. We had a vet appointment for Loki this morning, so we had a little bit of a busy day. He just needs to get a little checkup and some blood work done. So he didn't like it very much. He was really scared. Nobody likes going to the doctor, right? But he's fine. He's been resting this afternoon. But it made me in the mood to talk about dogs. So I decided to choose one of the other books I bought at the library last week that I showed you guys, Mixed Up Max. And like I had mentioned then, this is an older book that was owned by someone already because it has their name inside. Daryl Sievers owned this book at some point. And look, he wrote here next to this, he wrote dog. This book was written in 1968 when I would have been 4 years old. So that's kind of fun that this book is almost as old as I am. Can you imagine? It's a pretty old book. So Max is a dachshund, which is the kind of dog that I had when I was small. My mom loved dachshunds, so that's the kind of dog we would end up having. So we'll talk more about that after we read the story, okay? For now, let's read about Max. There we go. Mixed Up Max by Reza Gustitis, illustrated by Anne Wolfe. You guys can hear Loki in the background barking. It's because there's a truck parked in front of our house, and he is not happy about that. Max the dachshund lived with Mr. Bungle in an apartment in Washington, the capital of the United States. It was a big, modern apartment with soft chairs, enormous windows, and purple carpets. Looks very mid-century modern, doesn't it? Every morning and every evening, Mr. Bungle led Max out the door, into an elevator, down 7 floors, into the lobby, and out onto the street. He took him for a walk around the block and through the park where Max could bark and play. Most of the time, Max was a happy dachshund, but he had one great wish, and whenever he thought of it, he became sad. He wished that just once in his life he could take a long journey to some faraway country. Mr. Bungle went on many faraway journeys, for he had a secret job with the United States government, but he never took Max along. "I'm sorry, old boy," he always said before leaving. "I'd like to take you, but you'd only be trouble." I wouldn't, Max tried to say with his eyes. But Mr. Bungle just smiled, and away he went each time without Max. Then Max stayed alone for days in the big apartment with soft chairs and purple carpets. He stared for hours through an enormous window. He cried a little and slept a lot. In the morning and at night, the doorman came up from the lobby to feed him and walk him around the block. But he never took Max to the park, and he never called him old boy. Max stayed sad until he heard his master's footsteps approaching the apartment door. Then he ran to meet Mr. Bungle. He wagged his tail and barked and jumped with joy. Soon he forgot all about his long waiting. Mr. Bungle never talked about his secret job, but Max knew more than anyone suspected. A few good sniffs told him where his master had been. If he smelled couscous, he knew Mr. Bungle had been to Morocco, Tunisia, or Algeria, for that is where that dish of groats, vegetables, and meat is eaten. When he smelled sauerbraten, he knew his master had been to Germany. When he detected a touch of black mushroom, he guessed Mr. Bungle had come back from China. For dachshunds are wise dogs and know more than people think they do. Sometimes Mr. Bungle returned with a smell that Max could not figure out. Then he lay down with his head on one of his master's feet and dreamed of the place he might have returned from. He dreamed of islands where you can chase the waves and roll in the sand. He dreamed of mossy rocks and woods filled with wild bears, of wolves that howled and birds that cackled. One evening he dreamed so hard that he woke up with a stomach ache. Mr. Bungle took him to an animal hospital for a checkup. The veterinarian said to Max, "Max, meet Malcolm. I am the dachshund of an